Subscribe to Ancient Absurdity.
Very well, curious minds. Welcome back to Ancient Absurdity, the only channel where history's biggest disasters get a rebrand. Before we march into the mud, enlist your support. Subscribe, like, and comment. They shall not pass, because you, dear viewer, definitely shall. Now picture this. You're not in an office, you're in a trench. Your co-workers are rats, your coffee is mud, and your boss is an artillery shell that shows up uninvited every 2 minutes. It's 1916, and the Battle of Verdun has just begun. The plan? Germany attacks, France defends, and both sides pretend they're winning. The real victory? Whoever sells the better story. Boom, you're a French soldier. Your boots dissolve hourly, your rations taste like compressed despair, and yet the newspaper insists you're part of a glorious, noble struggle. Welcome to Verdun, the world's first war fought with bullets and branding. Verdun wasn't chosen for strategy. It was chosen for spectacle. A small fortress town with symbolic weight, perfect for headlines. Germany wanted to crush French morale by taking it. France wanted to prove it couldn't be taken. The result? Both nations turned a few square miles of mud into the most expensive advertisement in history. Every report, every radio broadcast, every speech was stage-managed. The generals fought on maps. The politicians fought for column inches. Verdun became less about military value and more about public relations ROI. Return on immolation. In February 1916, General Philippe Pétain coined the phrase, "Ils ne passeront pas." It spread faster than shrapnel. It was short, fierce, and perfect for printing. The French press turned it into a national prayer. Posters plastered it across Paris. School children repeated it in classrooms. Meanwhile, the men in the trenches weren't sure if they had already passed or not. But propaganda didn't need accuracy, only attitude. Petain's slogan turned endurance into glory, and surviving another day into a victory. It was marketing genius, forged in misery. On the other side, General Falkenhayn sold Verdun to the Kaiser as a psychological weapon. His memo called it "bleeding France white," a phrase that could have doubled as a perfume ad if it weren't horrifying. Germany wasn't trying to conquer Verdun. It wanted France to keep defending it until it collapsed. So they bombarded, advanced, and, crucially, wrote about it. German newspapers hailed each village taken as a divine triumph, each delay as a cunning trap. When soldiers drowned in shell craters, the papers called it tenacious perseverance. When the advance stalled, it became tactical patience. Public morale was the real front line. Both nations built entire departments to manage perception. Censorship offices became war ministries for storytelling. Journalists were either muzzled, bribed, or drafted. French papers printed poems about courage. German ones featured essays on divine destiny. Reporters at Verdun received daily narrative briefings, bullet points of patriotic fiction to distribute to the masses. Each headline was a shell, each article an explosion of national pride. Verdun's true innovation wasn't the flamethrower or the fortress gun. It was the industrialization of spin. When the mud swallowed names, the newspapers resurrected them as legends. Ordinary men, dead, missing, or shattered, became national icons overnight. France's poilus, the bearded, weary infantrymen, were turned into immortal characters, brave, stoic, unbreakable. Their letters home were rewritten for morale, their portraits retouched to look noble instead of terrified. The result? A country at its breaking point believing it was ascending to myth. Verdun didn't need saints, it mass-produced them. Each headline another halo. In modern marketing, you track engagement. In Verdun, they tracked corpses. Each side turned death tolls into morale reports. We lost 100,000, but they lost 120,000, was the 1916 version of "We're trending." Newspapers published tallies like sports scores, never mind that both teams were disintegrating. Military communiques described battles as progress, even when the progress was 3 meters of cratered earth and 1 million ruined lungs. Casualties weren't tragedy, they were data points. In Verdun's twisted PR logic, the more men died, the more glorious the cause must be. The slogan might as well have been, "Engagement is up, morale is bleeding nicely." Every army had its own internal advertising agency, the Censorship Bureau. If a soldier wrote home about the mud, lice, or constant shelling, his letter arrived with all the color of a government memo. "Dear Mother, everything is fine. We are holding firm." Translation: Everyone's dead, but the censor says optimism converts better. Journalists were no better off. Articles went through 3 layers of approval to make sure no one accidentally described reality. The truth was bad for morale. Optimism was policy. By mid-1916, truth had become an enemy combatant. The trenches were hell, wet, disease-ridden, and haunted by artillery. So propaganda reframed the misery as noble endurance. Posters showed clean, smiling soldiers defending civilization, while the real ones drowned in their helmets. Patriotism became a luxury product. Endurance was romanticized as the proof of French spirit. Germany mirrored it with stoic iron faith. If you froze, starved, and wept but didn't run, you weren't suffering. You were participating in the eternal defense of the fatherland. Verdun was less a place than a brand identity. Heroic mud TM, now with 30% more sacrifice. War marketing didn't stop at the front page. It hit the gift shop. In both countries, Verdun-branded souvenirs flooded the public. Postcards, songs, calendars, even board games turned the slaughter into collectible entertainment. French children played Defend Verdun with wooden cannons. German families sang about our glorious defenders. The front became a franchise. If today's conflicts had merchandise, Verdun would have had Funko Pops. Humanity's ability to commercialize horror is undefeated. General Pétain was supposed to command the army. Instead, he commanded the narrative. His calm face and tidy moustache became France's psychological shield. Posters painted him as a wise father figure. Pamphlets quoted his every word as gospel. "Pétain is there," they said, "so France is safe." Never mind that his soldiers were still knee-deep in liquid despair. His image became a spiritual sandbag. He was less a man than a logo, reliable, conservative, inspiring. Verdun's human trademark. France didn't just follow orders, it followed a brand strategy. When the German advance stalled and then reversed, the press didn't call it defeat, it was repositioning. Reports praised the army for its flexible defense and tactical regrouping, phrases that sound suspiciously like someone trying to return a broken product. Verdun's German narrative became a case study in euphemism management. Bombarded positions were temporary setbacks. Lost ground was redeployment. Falkenhayn's plan to bleed France white quietly vanished from headlines. It had been rebranded as a lesson in endurance. The truth died somewhere between the front line and the editor's desk. For all the censorship and slogans, truth has a nasty habit of seeping through mud. Letters slipped past censors. Wounded soldiers returned home with stories that didn't match the headlines. The myth of glorious defense began to smell, like the trenches themselves. Families started whispering that Verdun wasn't a victory, but a meat grinder. Yet the machine of propaganda didn't stop. Instead, it doubled down, painting skepticism as betrayal. If you questioned Verdun, you weren't disillusioned, you were unpatriotic. That's how powerful the great lie was. It made disbelief the new heresy. By late 1916, Verdun was a ruin of men and landscape. Neither side had truly won, but both claimed triumph. France announced a miraculous defense. Germany declared strategic success. Everyone clapped, no one celebrated. And yet, the public bought it. People needed meaning, and propaganda supplied it, prepackaged, emotionally charged, and easy to chant. Verdun's myth outlived the battle itself. The truth had drowned, but the story floated just fine. After the war, both nations kept polishing the myth like a sacred relic. France built memorials, Germany wrote memoirs, and neither told the full story. Films, posters, and speeches retold Verdun as a tale of honor, clean, noble, almost cinematic. Meanwhile, the real Verdun remained a toxic wasteland filled with bones and rusted shells. Century later, parts of the battlefield are still off limits, poisoned by the metal of lies. Verdun became not just a memory, but a moral brand, proof that narrative can survive where people cannot. Verdun didn't prove military genius. It proved that storytelling could outgun reality. It showed that if you repeat a lie loudly enough, history itself might quote you. Both sides claimed victory. Both sides lost, and propaganda quietly cashed in, satisfied that no truth was ever too muddy to sell. So remember, whenever a government promises honor, glory, or just one more push, check for the logo first. It might just say, Verdun, 1916, Tamimem. And that, brave viewers, was the great lie of Verdun. A reminder that the first casualty of war isn't truth, it's the unsubscribe button. So don't let that happen. Hit subscribe, join the resistance against boring history, and share this video before the censors do. Because the past doesn't repeat, it just rebrands. And here at Ancient Absurdity, we make sure the slogan doesn't stick.